start my card today, I'm actually going to use my markers on my stamps. I'm using the stamp set Just Drawing, which is like one of my absolute favorites. And I'm just taking my real red marker and I'm actually coloring on the stamp to make the cherries red and the stems green. So I've colored the stem with the old olive, the cherries in the real red. Give it a huff to re-moisten the ink and then just give it a stamp. So I'm making my own kind of designer series paper here, and I'm going to cut that down to size in just a sec. So I'm done making my own designer series paper here. I've cut my page to 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and now I'm just going to take the Crystal Effects and I'm going to actually squeeze it on top of all of my cherries. So I'm just going to squish out a little blob here. You can see coming out. I don't want to squish too hard. And I'm going to rub that around my cherries. And then when it dries, I'm actually going to end up with a textured, homemade, created designer series paper. Alrighty, I'm back and I actually let my Crystal Effects dry overnight. So I'm back today to put my card together. Again, I used Crystal Effects on the cherries and I've mounted it on a piece of old olive cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then it's going to go on a basic black card front that is my standard 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. Now before I do that, I'm going to adhere my real red striped grosgrain ribbon. Absolutely love it. And it's going to come down here on the bottom of my card. And my card is actually going to I used my colozzle and I cut out 2 circles, one using the basic black and the other one size smaller using the old olive. And then I stamped the skull from the Just Drawing stamp set. I stamped it in basic black, colored the bones in using my old olive Stampin' Up! Marker. And then that same marker that we used for the cherries, I colored in the eyes and the tooth. And I used the Crystal Effects for that. Now I didn't Crystal Effects the tooth here because I thought I would just draw on by hand a little black heart and color that in. And then I'm going to add just a dab of Crystal Effects to the black heart after I assemble my card, and it can sit and dry. So this is going to come down here at the bottom-ish, and I've got a little banner I'm going to make for it down along the bottom as well. So what I want to do is have my ribbon so it's kind of at the bottom of my circle and my knot over here. So I'm just going to eyeball that. And now when I've been asked how I do my ribbon, what I do is I eyeball where I want my knot to be, and then I just make sure my ends are even above the spot where that knot's going to go. So I'll just tie my knot here. And I'm going to adhere the skull onto the circles using my dimensionals, and I will also dimensional up the circle on the front of the card. So I'll do that and we'll be right back to make the banner. Okay, now for my greeting, I just have You Rock here for my card, and what I'm going to do is fork the ends. I'm going to make it like a little banner. So I'm going to use my corner edge punch. You can use a square punch, you can use anything with a right angle. So I'm just going to put that in, I'm going to give it a little punch, and it just makes that banner for me. And then I'm going to adhere this just using my snail. Now you can see I didn't like my first attempt. I'm going to adhere this onto a strip of black cardstock. So I started with a 3/8 piece of real red, and then my basic black is 1/2 inch. And again, the exact same thing. I'm just going to stick this in here, line it up with the red, move it back a smidge, punch, and I've got myself a quick and easy banner that has the same 90-degree in there. And then I just want to poke a little hole here, and I've got a basic black brad. Well, I don't know if it's called basic black. It's in vintage and it's black. So I'm going to just put that in here, open it up, and now I'm going to put this on the bottom of my card, but I want it to pop up and go over that circle. So what I'm going to do is just break the fibers of my paper so you can run it along anything. So I'm just going to run it along my paper punch here, and it just makes the banner a little bit easier to work with. And I'm just going to apply some adhesive on my ends, and then I can pop it up here at the bottom of my card. And then last but not least, the inside of my card, of course, I've got the matching cherries on a piece of Whisper White cardstock, so I can write my daughter a message on a card that I made for her. And I'll apply a little bit of Crystal Effects, and you'll see a photo of the finished product. Thanks for joining me.